descent is long and dark. As you sink deeper into the abyss, the pressure builds and the last remnants of sunlight fade away. You switch on the submersible's lights, illuminating an endless expanse of midnight blue. Bioluminescent creatures drift by, their bodies pulsing with ethereal light, and then you see it, or rather, her. The mother of all oarfish is, well, massive doesn't do her justice. Oarfish are the longest bony fish in the sea, capable of growing up to 36 feet in length, though the creature before you seems to dwarf even that impressive measure. Her silvery body stretches far beyond what your eyes can see, ribboning through the darkness like a living earthquake fault line. They're rarely seen by humans, preferring the quiet and darkness of the mesopelagic zone between 200 and 1,000 meters below the surface. Yet here you are, face to face with a creature that most humans will never see in their lifetime, let alone engage in conversation. "Great Mother Oarfish," you say, your voice shaking slightly. "I've come to ask you about the fate of our world. When will it end?" For a long moment, there's silence. Then, a voice fills my cabin, not so much heard as felt, resonating in my very bones. "Child of the surface," the mother of all oarfish says, her tone ancient and weary, "why do you seek such knowledge? Do you not know that the end is always near, yet never quite here?" I swallow hard. I need to know. Our world seems to be falling apart. Ecological disasters, wars, illnesses. Are these signs of the end? The oarfish's barbels twitch, a movement you interpret as amusement. Ah, the eternal question of Doomsday. You humans are so preoccupied with endings and disasters. In Japan, we're known as Ryugu no Tsukai, messengers from the sea god's palace. Our appearance in shallow waters is often seen as a harbinger of earthquakes or other natural disasters. You nod, recalling news stories of oarfish washing up on beaches prior to seismic events. The correlation has never been scientifically proven, but the legend persists. "My children do not surface to warn of disaster," she interrupts your thoughts. "They are curious, like all young things. Sometimes they venture too far from the depths, and are caught in currents they cannot escape. It is no more a sign of doom than a bird blown off course in a storm." I absorb this information, feeling a mix of relief and disappointment. So there's no truth to the legends? No connection between oarfish and natural disasters? The great oarfish's body ripples, sending gentle waves through the water. There are connections between all things, child. The beating of a butterfly's wings can cause a storm on the other side of the world. But correlation is not causation, as your scientists say. I nod, understanding dawning. So when people see oarfish and then an earthquake happens, they draw lines between unrelated events, the oarfish finishes. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. You find meaning even where there is only chaos. I lean back in my seat, processing this. But if you can't tell me when the world will end, what can you tell me? Surely you must have some wisdom to share. The mother of all oarfish is quiet for so long that I begin to worry she's left. But then her voice fills my submersible once more. "I can tell you this," she says. "The world as you know it is always ending. Each moment that passes is a little apocalypse, a tiny ending making way for a new beginning. The question is not when will it all end, but how will you live in the face of constant change?" I furrow my brow, not quite satisfied with this answer. That's profound, I suppose, but not very specific. Surely you must know something more concrete? You've lived for so long, seen so much. A sound like the groaning of tectonic plates fills the water. The oarfish's laughter, I realize. "Time flows differently in the depths," she says. "I have seen civilizations rise and fall, continents shift, and new species evolve. From my perspective, your world is always ending, always being reborn." The oarfish's massive eye peers into my submersible, and I feel seen in a way I never have before. "Flexibility is key," she says. "Those who cling rigidly to the old ways will struggle. Those who adapt, who learn to flow with the currents of change, will thrive." I nod, scribbling notes furiously. "Okay, adapt, be flexible. What else?" "Cultivate compassion," the great oarfish continues. In times of great change, fear often leads to conflict. But empathy and cooperation are the tools that will see your kind through the challenges ahead. I'm writing so fast my hand cramps. This is good stuff, I mutter. Really good, but it's still pretty vague. Can you give me any specific events to watch out for? Any dates? The oarfish's body undulates, and I get the distinct impression she's sighing. You still do not understand. The future is not a fixed point, but a sea of possibilities. Your actions, the actions of all surface dwellers, shape what is to come. I cannot give you dates or specific events because they are not yet written. I slump back in my seat, feeling a mix of awe and frustration. So you're saying the future is fluid? Changeable? Precisely, the oarfish says, and I swear I can hear approval in her tone. The ocean does not fight the moon's pull. It flows with it, adapts to it. Your kind would do well to learn from the sea. I sit with this for a moment, letting the profundity of it sink in. So instead of trying to predict the end, we should focus on what? Living well? Adapting to change? Now you begin to understand, the mother of all oarfish says. The world is always ending, always beginning. The question is not when, but how you choose to swim in the currents of change. I nod slowly, a new perspective dawning. I came here looking for a doomsday prediction, but you're giving me life advice? The oarfish's laughter rumbles through the water again. Is that not more valuable? A date of doom can only inspire fear, but understanding how to live in the face of constant change, that is true power. I can't argue with that logic. Okay, so if you were to give advice to the surface world, what would it be? How can we best prepare for this ongoing transformation? The great oarfish is quiet for a moment, as if gathering her thoughts. When she speaks, her voice is solemn. First, remember that you are part of the sea, not separate from it. The oceans you pollute, the ecosystems you destroy, these are not distant problems. They are wounds to your own body. I wince, feeling the truth of her words. We haven't been very good stewards of the planet, have we? You have much to learn, the oarfish agrees, but you also have a great capacity for change. Second, cultivate variety. In the depths, a wide range of life forms ensures the health of the ecosystem. Your societies would do well to have variety in thought, culture, and approach. I nod, scribbling furiously. Variation, got it. What else? Think in cycles, not linear paths, she continues. The sea knows that what goes around comes around. Every action has consequences that ripple out and return. Consider the long-term effects of your choices. I'm starting to see a pattern in her advice. It's all about interconnectedness, about seeing the bigger picture. This is not what I expected when I came down here, I admit. The oarfish's eye twinkles with what might be amusement. You sought an ending. I'm offering you a new beginning. The choice of what to do with this knowledge is yours. I sit back, letting it all sink in. I came looking for a doomsday prophecy, but instead I'm getting a crash course in ecological philosophy and sustainable living. It's not what I wanted, but I'm starting to think it might be what I needed. One last question, I say, feeling both overwhelmed and oddly energized. Why tell me all this? Why share your wisdom with me? The mother of all oarfish is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is softer, almost gentle. Because you asked. Because you were curious enough, brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough to seek out the depths. Knowledge, like water, wants to flow. It is up to you what you do with it. I nod slowly, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders. I'll do my best to share what I've learned, I promise. See that you do, the oarfish says. Now I believe it's time for you to return to the surface. Remember, child of the air, the world is always ending, always beginning. How you choose to swim in the currents of change, that is what truly matters. With that, the great oarfish begins to uncoil from around my submersible. I watch in awe as her massive body disappears into the gloom, a living reminder of the mysteries still hidden in the depths of our world. As I begin my ascent, my mind is reeling. I came looking for a doomsday prediction, a specific date or event to fear. Instead, I'm leaving with something far more valuable, a new perspective on change, on our place in the world, on what it means to live in the face of constant transformation. The journey back to the surface seems to take both an eternity and no time at all. As I break through to the sunlit world above, I realize that everything looks different now. The sky, the sea, the very air I breathe, it all seems more precious, more interconnected. I may not have a doomsday date to share with the world, but I have something better, a message of hope, of resilience, of our power to shape the future. The world may always be ending, but it's also always beginning anew, and we have the power to influence how that new beginning unfolds. As I step onto the deck of my research vessel, I take a deep breath of salty air. The sun is setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. It's beautiful, and for a moment, I'm struck by the incredible privilege of being alive, of being part of this ever-changing world. I may have gone fishing for doomsday, but I've caught something far more valuable, a new understanding of our place in the grand cycle of life, and a renewed commitment to swimming gracefully in the currents of change. The end isn't coming. It's already here, has always been here, will always be here, and so is the beginning. The question isn't when, but how we choose to live in the face of constant transformation. As I watch the last rays of sunlight disappear beneath the waves, I smile. The mother of all oarfish may live in the depths, but her wisdom has brought new light to my world. And now, it's my turn to share that light with others.